This video, we're going to look at what happens with the metals and the nonmetals as they strive to follow the octet rule. Okay, so remember that metals are the things found to the left on the periodic table. They are things that have 3 or fewer valence electrons. If they have 3 or fewer valence electrons and they want the 8 for the octet rule, then there's 2 possibilities. If they have 3 or fewer, they could gain 5 or 6 or 7 electrons to get to the 8. Or the other alternative is they could take these 3 or fewer and lose them. So that would be 1, 2, or 3 electrons. And the question we have to ask is which of those things is easier, which means which one of those requires less energy to gain 5, 6, or 7 electrons, which is a lot of electrons, or simply to lose 1, 2, or 3. And hopefully we can see that losing 1, 2, or 3 is easier, requires less energy. So therefore the metals are going to tend to lose electrons. We've talked about this before, that metals are losers of electrons. By definition, a metal is something which loses electrons because it has 3 or fewer valence electrons. All right, so an example of that, for sodium, if you remember noble gas shorthand notation, you find sodium on the periodic table, you back up to the previous noble gas, which is neon, and then you just move forward, and for sodium you only need 3s1. Now, if I do this noble gas shorthand for sodium ion, Na+1, this means that we have lost an electron. So that electron that we would lose would be this one right here at 3s1, and so the noble gas shorthand for sodium ion is just the neon core. Sodium has become like neon by losing 1 electron, and that makes it more stable. All right, for nonmetals, let's go the other way, they are by definition things that have 5 or more valence electrons. They want to have 8, so the choices again are to gain up to 8, or lose down to 0. So you got to lose 5 or more, or gain 3, 2, or 1 electrons to get to 8. So they are gainers of 1, 2, or 3 electrons. Metals are losers, nonmetals are gainers because it's just easier, it requires less energy. So an example here again, the noble gas shorthand for chlorine atom is neon again, because you just back up to the previous noble gas, 3s2, 3p5. All right, so our choices here are to lose all 7 of these electrons, these 5 and these 2, or just to gain 1 to get this one up to 6. All right, so chloride ion then with a Cl-1 is going to just gain the 1 electron. That's what the -1 means, gain 1 electron. So that's going to put it in here, and we are going to have this configuration, neon 3s2, 3p6, but neon 3s2, 3p6 is actually the configuration for argon. So chloride ion is the same as argon in terms of electron configuration. It has become like the noble gas. It has met the octet rule. All right, so that's some examples of metals and nonmetals. We're going to continue with the stuff about ions as we go on.